So for my informative speech topic, I chose referring juveniles to the adult system. It's a sensitive subject, and it's one that everyone has their opinions on. It's something I've dealt with personally over the years and struggled with along with many other people. When I think about juveniles compared to adults, it makes me hesitant because most kids, and this is my opinion from experience and research, and I'm sure most would agree, just they aren't fully adults until at least 18, if not 21. Mentally, physically, biologically, kids are going through changes every day, and it makes it hard to think clearly. And when faced with complicated decisions that take time, they can often make irrational ones without thinking until after the fact. However, that's not to say that all juveniles are unaware of their actions. Some are very aware and can be as devious as an adult when committing a crime. So yes, when called for, I do believe that juveniles need to be transferred to the adult system, but I think it definitely deserves a lot more scrutiny than it can get sometimes. In Kentucky, as a juvenile, you can be tried as an adult if you're 18. Discretionary transfer can be used for youth age 14 and older for Class A or B felonies and age 16 for Class D felonies, or when a mandatory waiver is required for a youth age 14 or older accused of committing a crime, a felony status crime, with a firearm. I don't feel we're ruining our youth by exposing them to the adult court system if we do it right. And by that I mean that we have to make sure we're following all of the correct procedures and protocols, making sure the juveniles being tried are actually guilty of the crimes committed. If they're guilty, once they're sent into an adult facility, they need to be under protective watch until they can re-enter into general population when they turn 18. But if we really want to reduce recidivism rates, we need to focus on rehabilitation of juvenile offenders and not sending them to the adult courts. If we hold off sending youths into the adult system, we might be able to help them in the long run. They could still have a life with a juvenile record, but if an individual has an adult criminal record, it makes it a lot harder, a million times harder, to get a job or go to school or get proper housing. I mean, this is serious stuff. When you have a criminal record, unfortunately, you don't get to pay for your crime by doing the time. You pay for your crime not just then, but afterwards. You don't get to have, for the most part, people that come out of prison don't get to have a really good life. And that makes it really hard to not reoffend again in order to get money or because you lose hope. It can make it really difficult. So shoving that onto someone who could learn from their mistakes and educate themselves, who wouldn't have to have such a bad record, with them for the rest of their lives, that could really help not put them back in, that could help not spend taxpayer dollars, that could help everyone in the long run. This is why about 100 years ago, a separate justice system was created for juveniles with the intent of altering juvenile offenders from the severe punishments of adult criminal courts and to strengthen rehabilitation based on each individual's needs. The adult process isn't nearly as formal as it is in adult courts, or the juvenile process isn't nearly as formal as it is in adult courts, and there's a lot more discretion that can be used among juvenile court judges. Currently, all 50 states are allowed to transfer youthful offenders from juvenile to adult courts under certain circumstances which vary in each jurisdiction. Two recent studies show that juveniles with stricter punishments when they're tried as adults aren't actually scared straight. It actually has the opposite effect. After their release, they go back to committing crime sooner and more frequent than their peers who went to a juvenile facility. Learning discipline and skills will help for reentry into society, as well as providing programs within the community. Probation and counseling are great options, whether added to a juvenile sentence or being a juvenile sentence without incarceration. There are numerous programs and facilities that can offer help to youthful offenders to reduce recidivism rates and help turn these kids' lives around. In my opinion, there should be a panel of judges or legally qualified professional persons who review cases that want to be waived from juvenile to adult courts. There needs to be a standard of guidelines set and followed in each state that require thorough and strict investigation of each case in order to determine whether or not these cases should even be considered to go and be tried in adult court. I think this is such an important and interesting topic, one that I'm very passionate about because it's such a big issue in our society and affects many, many families and people in America. Thank you.